Hello, it's me again here with the updated version of the Harvest Moon 64 tool-assisted speedrun. We have adjusted the volume, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me a little better. I'm gonna go over a lot of the same stuff, but this is a tool-assisted speedrun of Harvest Moon 64. The category is marriage percent, so we're trying to get married as quickly as possible. Just going through the menus real quick here. Everything is named A, because that's the fastest way to get through the menus. We're going to eat a nice wholesome breakfast and move out of the, or walk out of the house we just moved into, and go say hi to the mayor. He's come to greet us, the newcomer to his wonderful little town, and we're going to tell him to go away, because we need to sleep for 86 days. That'll give us a lot of time to talk about how this game works. So, in order to get married, we need to get 6,000 money. 5,000 of it, along with 500 materials, is spent to upgrade our house to include a kitchen. Can't get married unless you have a kitchen. I don't know why, but that's the thing. You also need 1,000, technically 980, to purchase the blue feather. And the blue feather is how you propose to someone in Harvest Moon 64. You give them the blue feather, and then if they like you enough, they will say, "Why, yes, of course I will marry you." And then you get married. Easy peasy. So, the quickest way to get the money is a random event, or an event that happens on Fall 30th, and then doing some construction work for the town in winter. So we're just going to be sleeping through the first almost entire 3 seasons of the game, but it's much faster than anything that you could try to do now. That'll also get us very conveniently to the dog race in winter, which is where we're going to get the materials. We're going to bet on the dog race and use the medals that we win to get the materials to upgrade our kitchen. So, that's how we get the physical stuff to get married. We also need to convince one of the town's eligible bachelorettes to marry us. No bachelors in this game. You're not allowed to be gay. Don't know why. It's an old game. But, the character that we're going to be marrying is Karen. Karen is, maybe a little bugged. It's hard to tell if this was intended or not, but everyone, people and also animals have an affection value with you. A lot of things in this game that are supposed to reduce your affection value actually increase it. My headcanon is that there were 2 programmers who had a torrid affair and decided they couldn't talk to each other anymore because it was too awkward. So one programmer made a bunch of things negative numbers, thinking they were supposed to be bad, and then the other programmer subtracted them because they were supposed to be bad. I don't know what really happened, so that's what I'm going with. But for example, if you have a cow, you hit it with a tool, it will enter the angry state, but it will also then gain 5 affection with you, rather than losing 5 affection. You can also use this trick to make your cows immortal, because this game is just a masterpiece of coding, and not at all held together with duct tape. But animals can only have 1 state at a time. So, if your cow is in the starving state, and you continue to not feed it, it will die. But if you wait until your cow enters the starving state, and then hit it with a tool, it will enter the angry state, which it overwrites starving. So as long as you hit it with a tool every couple of days, it will never need to eat. And it will also like you a lot, because hitting it with a tool raises the affection value. So, possibly related to that, the character we're going to be marrying, Karen, if you show her your dog, and your dog doesn't like you very much, because you haven't done anything to raise its affection, she'll say, "Oh, that, doesn't seem that clever. So you got a dumb-looking dog, I guess? I don't know." But, whenever she gives that response, her affection with you increases by 1. So in order to get her up to 220 affection, which is what we need for her to marry us, we're going to be introducing ourselves, which gets 4 affection right off the bat. and then we are going to show her our dog 216 times. And then she'll be ready to marry us. Because even though he doesn't look too clever, our dog is pretty cute. And if someone showed me a really cute dog a couple hundred times, I'd probably marry them. Good qualifications. As long as they also have a kitchen. Can't get married without a kitchen. Just, malarkey. So you can hear the music changed. We're about halfway through summer right now. Let's see, I suppose I could rehash a little, if you watched my previous video where I was a babbling idiot because it was late at night, a lot of this will sound familiar, but tool-assisted speedrunning, rather than, trying to physically play the game myself, because I don't have a lot of manual dexterity, I don't really have the patience to try and, grind a single game for hours and hours and hours to get that muscle memory built up. What I like to do is more puzzle solving. So for a tool-assisted speedrun, rather than trying to execute the run as well as possible as a human, you are creating a computer script. So, and you can look at it in a text file, it's literally just for, every line is one frame. So the first line is the frame that you turn on the emulator, or power on the console. And because these consoles always started from, they only had RAM, which is memory that resets when it loses power. So because it's always starting from the same state, as long as you give the exact same inputs on the same frames, it will always behave in the same way. So you can construct this script to say, alright, on frame 28, we're going to press A, and we're going to keep giving that input for 6 frames. And then on frame 34, we're going to release it and press Z, because this is an N64 game, so there was a Z key. But so you can create this script and then run the game and see how fast of a time is possible if, unmodified game, unmodified console, but if a human player could give frame-perfect inputs exactly as needed, what could you accomplish? I tend to be much more attracted to glitchless categories, so you can see I'm not, for this run, we're not going to be doing any major, glitches or clips or sequence breaks or things like that. I am much more attracted to runs that are sort of the way a human could run it if they could execute everything perfectly, rather than using tool-assisted speedruns to just break the game. Both are good, it's just, this is much more what I am attracted to, so this is what I'm going to be making. Because I'm doing this for, my own enjoyment. Hopefully y'all get some enjoyment out of it too. But, yeah. Alright, and we have entered fall. Almost like I timed that. But I don't have a script, because scripts are for people who, like to be well prepared. Let's see, so we've talked about what a task is, we've talked about the basic structure of this run. If you are familiar with this speedrunning category at all, if you look up any of the videos of world records, you'll see that they are quite a bit faster than this tool-assisted run that I've put together. How could that be? Well, there's two possibilities. One possibility is, I didn't do a lot of RNG manipulation. RNG is random number generator, so anytime the game needs to do something that seems random to the player, it looks at certain memory locations. But because we're starting from a fresh power-on console and giving the same inputs every time, we know exactly what values are going to be in those memory locations. So any of the random events will trigger in the exact same way as long as we haven't changed our script. The problem is, I don't have a memory map for this game. I don't know what memory locations it's looking for. So, say for the dog race, in order to know which dog will win, or in order to get the dog that I wanted to win, I had to just do trial and error and keep adjusting the script until it happened to set up correctly. So it's possible that there are runs you could construct with slightly better luck that will save a small amount of time, and I just wasn't able to find those with the tools I had available. The biggest thing, though, is that to make this more watchable, and also because I never played this game as a kid and I would have no idea what was going on otherwise, I am running the English version of this game. Speedruns of this game for human players are typically done in the Japanese version because the text is a lot faster. Japanese characters, you get much higher information density, so, and since it prints each character sort of one at a time, you know, an English text box that's taking up 3 lines is going to be a lot longer than a Japanese text box that's only printing out half a line. And for this category in particular, that is a huge amount of time because, other than this 86-day marathon sleep, which, man, do I wish I could do in real life, because that sounds glorious. But other than this, the main section of the game that's going to be taking up quite a lot of time is when we go to Karen and show her our dog 216 times. Each of those is a text conversation, and because we're running in English, they're all going to be quite a bit slower than they are in the world record human run. So this should be fall 29th, if I don't miss my guess. So we should now be, yep, leaving our house. Perfect. So we're gonna duck back inside real quick. This guy's sitting outside. I don't know who he is. Maybe his name is Cliff? I don't know. He shows up, he wants to talk to us, does a random event. We go back inside to clear his event, so this other event will trigger. This is Mustachioed Man? Maybe Rick? I don't know. Rick might be another NPC. But he shows up, he says, hey, we don't have enough space in our barn. Can you look after my cows for a couple of days, and then I'm gonna sell them, and I'll give you a cut. But, you know, he's trying to sell them, so we need to take good care of them. We can't let them get sick or starving. We say, absolutely, no problem. Then we go back in for another week-long narcolepsy session, because they'll be fine. Music has changed again. You can see we're in winter. So the cows are just sort of hanging out in our field, outside, in winter, with no food. But it's fine. They'll be fine. As long as we don't actually go outside, I don't think anything happens to them. And conveniently, I'm assuming this is a bug. Maybe it was intended, I'd have no way of knowing. But when we go back outside here, Rick will say, wow, my cows are in terrible shape, I can't even sell them. What? Why would you do this? But he still pays us. We get 1,000 gold for looking after his cows, even though we, like, trashed them. So here's his wife and child. They're here to say thanks. You're welcome, wife. Goodbye, child. And now Rick ducks in off screen to yell at us, but we don't care. We get paid. So that was 1,000 money. The other 5,000 money is going to come from us helping the head carpenter construct the hot springs for the town. This happens in winter, which is part of why we were waiting this long. There were older routes where you would do bridge construction in fall, but the animations for the hot springs construction are faster. Excuse me. So, doing 5 days of hot springs construction is faster than doing 5 days of bridge construction. Now, the hot springs construction is also very conveniently right next to where we will find Karen. If you've watched any of the human routes of this game, you'll probably notice that they don't go talk to Karen where we're doing it in the mountains. The reason for that is when you go to bed at night, it sets up a bunch of semi-random numbers for the NPCs. So when we went to sleep the previous night, it set some values for today that dictate where the NPCs will be if they're not always in the same place. We're going to drop our dog off there. We'll come back for him later. He's a very good boy. He'll stay there and wait for us. So, we're going to work, run back home real quick. The reason for this is today, I believe is a Tuesday, Karen is at her family's vineyard. Always, 100% of the time. The first time you go to the vineyard, there is a cutscene that you have to watch that's quite slow. And there's also, after you've raised her affection with you enough, you have to go back, you have to like swap screens and go back to the vineyard, because there's a random event that will trigger. And if you don't clear it, then when you go back to try and propose to her, she won't be there. Now, because of these cutscenes, it's much faster if you don't have to go talk to her at the vineyard. But the days when she is not at the vineyard, she is in a random location. She has a 25% chance of being in the mountains, 25% chance of being at the beach, and a 50% chance of being inaccessible. Obviously, if you were doing a real-time run, it would be a real bummer to, like, spend 15 minutes sleeping for 86 days, and then lose your run because she just happened to not be in the mountains. And then she has to be there again when you go to propose to her, so 1 in 8 chance that your run is even viable, that would suck. We're doing a tool-assisted speedrun, so we know exactly how the random numbers will turn out. We know she's gonna be here. So we grab our dog, we show her our dog a lot. So this is Karen. She's gonna marry us in a little bit. Now, you may notice as we go through this section that the text boxes slow down a lot. I have no idea why. The game, during this conversation, just starts lagging like crazy. I don't know if there are, like, other NPCs on this map that are just off-screen, and they're, like, wandering around and causing a bunch of calculations. I don't know if there's some issue with the conversation we're having, or just, like, loading too many text boxes, but for whatever reason, this game is thinking real hard. So, beginning of the conversation, our average, like, text box from A-press to the A-press for the next one is 63 frames. Towards the end, it's closer to 115, which is a real bummer. Oh, I should also mention, those numbers are slightly misleading because the game runs at 30 FPS. Our tool-assisted speedrun tool, Task Studio, it assumes 60 frames. So basically every other frame of the script doesn't actually get read by the game. Any inputs that you put there just don't happen. Nothing happens on those frames. Excuse me. So the, like, 63 frames from A-press to A-press is really 31 frames from A-press to A-press, but you know, I'm just using the frame count as if it were 60 frames per second because that's how the tools are set up. So yeah, she really just is insulting our dog a lot here, but that's making her like us. So just finish this up and then go drop the dog. Actually, you know what? I think she's nicer than we are. We don't really do anything. The dog would probably be happier with her. So we're just going to leave the dog here. It's going to chill with Karen on the 25% chance of a couple of days a week when she's here. I guess the rest of the time it'll just sort of hang out with the Master Carpenter. I don't know. It'll be fine. It's a resilient dog, that A. By the way, part of the reason we had to drop it off, we can't take it into the cutscene of working on the hot springs with us. If we carry it onto that map when the cutscene starts, it will just sort of vanish and teleport back to our farm. And that's a bummer, because we want it to be, you know, here, so that we can show it to Karen. Yeah. Oh, so talk slightly about RNG manipulation while we have some time. It's very important for the dog race. It's also very important for the weather, because it can be snowing. When it's snowing, the game has to render all of these, like, snowflakes falling around the screen, and that's really slow. It causes a bunch of lag. So, the tricky part is that, let's say we need to go outside on winter 20, and so we don't want it to be snowing to avoid lag. Well, the game lets you... Sorry, that lag wasn't part of the game. That was my computer struggling with the emulator. I don't know what's up there. But, there's a component of the game that, you have a TV in your house. You can look at the TV and get a weather report, just like in Stardew Valley, if you're familiar. Well, the weather report tells you the following day's weather. So if I need good weather on winter 20, that gets set when I go to sleep on winter 18. So you have to go 2 days back to re-roll the weather pattern. Which is kind of a bummer, but it's not a big deal. The tools that we're using make it really easy to just insert 2 blank frames. You still need to go back through because pretty much any change will adjust where lag frames happen and exactly how certain things react. So you'll usually need to like fluffy things around a bit to get everything to line back up. But in general, you can go back to winter 18, add an extra frame or 2 before you sleep, and then roll everything back forward and it'll be fine. I mentioned those dates in particular, though, because that was the real pain in the butt. Because winter 19 is the dog race. So the RNG, which sets the weather on the 20th, also changes what dogs are in the first race and what the odds on them are. So when we went back to the 18th to adjust the weather, we then also had to reroute the whole dog race. And it's unfortunately not as easy as just figuring out which dog is going to win, because which dog is going to win changes based on what frame you place your bets on. It's actually it's determined by what frame the race starts on. But the way that I manipulate that is that the race start time is based on the in-game clock, and the in-game clock doesn't run while we have the screen open to place our bets. So there's a slight pause. Oh, so Karen now likes us enough. She's teleported over to our farm to give us some wine because she has so much affection for us. But that takes time. So we're just gonna go right inside. We then get another, since we skipped all the way up to maximum affection with her, we get all of her, affection events. So one of the events is we have that trippy dream about her being locked in a shed as a little girl, or something very strange. I think she's got a sad backstory. I don't really know. I never played this game. I just speedran it. So, we're now going to spend a couple more days working on the hot springs to get the rest of the money we need. Now, may have identified a small problem in the math. So if we have 6,000 money, we spend 1,000 of it to get the blue feather, we spend 5,000 of it to get the kitchen. We also need money to place our bets on the dog race, so we can get the materials to upgrade the kitchen. How do we do this? Well, turns out there's a bug there too. The way that it works is when you go talk to the mayor's wife to place your bets for the first dog race, if you press A to confirm it, she will take your money and give you those like wagering tokens, and your bets will be placed. if you place a bunch of bets and then press B to exit out of the menu, she won't take your money, but you will still have placed those bets. You will still have those wagering tokens. So you can essentially bet on the dog races without actually spending or betting any of the money. And then, since we can just pause for the specific number of frames to know that the dog with the best odds will win, we're golden. There are some limits to it, but basically every bet that you place requires an additional 4 frames. It's 1 frame of pressing one frame of pressing up, and then 1 frame of releasing it to increase your count by 1. You can't hold up, by the way. It is much slower. You want to toggle it on and off. So it's 2 frames of that, and then it's 4 frames because this is running at 30 FPS, so it's ignoring every other frame. So if a dog has, you'll see there's one dog with 27 to 1 odds. So to get to the 500 tokens we need, you only have to place, I think, 20 bets. Maybe it's 18? Yeah, that's math. You need to place 18 bets. So to do that versus a dog with even just 10 to 1 odds, where you'd have to place 50 bets. If there's any pattern of RNG where the 27 odds dog wins, without waiting for more than, let's see, 50 minus 18 is 32 times 4, so you have up to 128 frames of waiting to get good RNG, where betting on the higher value dog will still be faster. So it's better to wait than to just bet on the dog that will win without waiting. That got slightly convoluted. Sorry. Let's see, so we're gonna keep going to work for a little while. Let me just see where we're at. Oh no, sorry, we're done with work. It's the dog race. It is winter 19th. I left that little bubble in there because the dog race doesn't start until 8 a.m. 9 a.m.? 9 a.m. And if you enter that screen before it starts, you won't have access to the dog race until you leave and re-enter. So we have to wait for exactly that time. Doesn't matter what we do in that time. And I had been screwing around with movement on that staircase to try and determine if there was a pattern of movement that would make anything go faster or slower. I determined that the way that you move does not matter for anything we're interacting with, so I just left it in there. Just do a little dance on the stairs. So we talked to the mayor's wife, we placed our bets without spending any money, we chilled, and now here's the start of the race. We bet on that top dog there, Suki? Something with a U. And look at that, what an incredible coincidence, our dog won. This is another section where, in a human run, there's a whole pattern of placing... Oh no, his name was Joey, excuse me. Ugusi was the dog that won in the previous version of the run, which I made a video of in case I never summoned the will to come make this faster version, but then I was pretty jazzed up about having finished it, so I made the faster version. This version is 2.2 seconds faster, and I will point out exactly where that happens. But for now, we won the dog race, we got 500 medals, we exchanged those with the mayor for 500 materials. So now we have money and materials to upgrade our house. We have enough money to buy the blue feather and propose to Karen, so we're good to go. So we have to wait another day, because on the festival days, the carpenter is closed. We can't go order the kitchen upgrade on that same day. But today is just a normal day, the carpenter will be there, we go order the kitchen, boom. Now the Carpenter, similar to Karen, is magical. He can teleport. I wish we could learn to teleport. I'm sure it would make parts of this run much faster. So similar story, he doesn't open till 9, so we're just gonna camp outside of his house, hang out with our dog, look at our dog flapping his cute little ears. Let's see if he does it. Does he do it? No. He's just like twerking. Alright, that's fine. So we hang out with our dog, we come in here, we order the kitchen upgrade from the Master Carpenter. We pop outside, and he is standing on his staircase, enjoying the morning, maybe looking at our cute dog, who knows. But now, as we run home, he will not only have beaten us back to our farm, he will have managed in that 5 seconds to do an entire estimate and draw up the plans and take our money and lumber. And now he's ready to build our kitchen. It's going to take him 3 days, so we're going to sleep for that time. You can't buy the blue feather to allow you to propose until you meet all the requirements for someone to say yes. Presumably that's to stop people from wasting their money on the blue feather if they are not actually able to get anyone to marry them. So, we're gonna chill for 3 days. Now, this is where we diverge from the first run I made, because the first run, we leave today, and we go propose on the 24th. But, if you leave the house on the same day that the Master Carpenter finishes your kitchen, he talks to you about it. He's like, look, I finished your kitchen, isn't that great? And that conversation takes some time. Now you may have noticed a pause there. That very long pause was to manipulate Karen to be in the mountains. If she is on the beach, it's actually quite a bit slower. We lose all of the time we saved with this alternate route and then some. So we manipulate her to be in the mountains today. We pop over to Rick's, buy the blue feather, and then we can go propose. Now, the mayor was outside our house. He said, hey, because he wanted to talk to us about something. I don't know why. I think it's because today is a festival day, and he wanted to remind us that the festival was happening. But other than the dog race, we don't really do festivals, because, you know, they're not important to getting married as fast as possible. So we're going to chill here outside of Rick's house. Excuse me. But yeah, getting through the mayor saying hey and then just running away is way faster than listening to the Master Carpenter talk and talk and talk. And then one of his assistants talks to you. It's terrible. It's like entire seconds. If you want that, it means you've got plans, eh? The price is 1,000 gold, but I'll knock off a bit, and it's only 980. Thanks, Rick. Oh no, that's Rick. So the mustachioed guy can't have been Rick. I don't know who the mustachioed guy is. A ton of lag right there when the game had to render somebody's grandma in that rocking chair. There's just not really any kind of a route around it. You just gotta deal with it. I'm pretty sure there's an event like 2 years into the game that will cause the grandmother to die of old age, which is horrifying, but we're not gonna be 2 years into the game. So we take the blue feather up to Karen, she's hanging out with her dog, we propose, she says yes, because her dog is just so cute and wonderful, and I guess we're fine too, you know, we have a kitchen, some good qualities, so now we just go sleep until the wedding. The wedding, part of the reason that this is also much faster, the wedding is always on the next Sunday. So in the old route, we would go out on a Wednesday, talk to the carpenter, propose, and then wait until that next Sunday. In this case, we wait until the Friday, the wedding still happens on that next Sunday. So as long as we're doing the same number of sleeps and the same amount of leaving our house, that all comes out in the wash. And now we have a wedding. Look at that. It's real cute. For tool-assisted speedruns, timing traditionally stops when you give your last meaningful input. So it stopped right before we hopped into bed on that last day. And this run was a total of 121,197 frames, which is a cool improvement of 2.2 seconds over our last time. So, yeah. thank you so much for bearing with me through this. I have really enjoyed making it, and I am going to make another soon. Need to figure out what game to do. By the way, the total count for this run, 33 minutes and 0.66 seconds. Which is... Alright, man, the emulator's freaking me out. So yeah, it's about 33 minutes and 40 seconds is this run. And that's that.